Hello friends, I thought today I would bring you a video about tatting shuttles. Just kind of a little overview about what they used to look like, what they often look like now, developments that have happened over the years, some from my antique collection, some you can buy readily now, how to wind them, all that kind of stuff. So let's get started. So the oldest one I have is this one here. This one is actually from a sewing box, which is another video coming. My collection of antique sewing boxes. Often antique sewing boxes would come kitted out, so they would have spool reels and tatting shuttles and thread waxers and needle cases and all those kind of things built into them, and just absolutely marvelous things. Anyway, this one came from an old sewing box. It's dated from the early 1800s, so about 1810 to 1830. It kind of draws the line between a tatting shuttle and a knotting shuttle. So tatting's ancestor is an art form called knotting, which is a simpler version of tatting. You didn't work with a chain, you didn't really join picots. It was just tiny rings of knots. And I have a video about it called, I think, Recreating Early Tatting, something like that. Anyway, this shuttle's tips don't meet. And that is one of the earliest forms of a knotting shuttle or a tatting shuttle, is that the top blade and the bottom blade didn't meet. Like a more modern one, they pinch down at the ends. They're not connected, but they do touch. And early shuttles didn't touch. Sometimes shuttles can get stretched out so that they don't touch anymore, but this one was designed never to touch in the first place. This is a very old one. It's made of mother of pearl. Absolutely beautiful, and it came out of an antique sewing box. These are not antiques, they're modern reproductions. In the mid-1800s, tatting shuttles took on the form that they would have for almost 100 years. At this point, tatting had made a jump, and you used a ball with a chain. You would make picots and join picots, and tatting got much more complex. And in order to join a picot at that point, you would need to have a hook alongside. Here are some that are not 1800s, they're more early 1900s, like maybe 1910 to 1930-ish. They were made out of shell or bone or early plastics, and they're fairly straightforward to wind. You can see there's a hole in the middle. So you take your thread, and put it through that hole. Now you can either hold it and wind it up, or you can tie it off. And that way it definitely won't come loose. And wind it up from there. That's how you wind this style of shuttle. Now, after this style, they're starting to be manufactured without the need of a hook. You can also find shuttles that have points on the ends. They make modern ones too. Here's some modern plastic ones. And then they make modern metal ones as well. These three are antiques, but these three are modern reproductions or just modern style. In this case, you use the point. You wind them the same way. So they're going to have a post in the middle that you would just wind your thread around. You don't necessarily need a hook, you just use your point to go through your picot and pull up your thread. I'm not going to necessarily show you how to tat or how to join picots in this video. This is more about the actual shuttles, but I do have videos that teach that if you're interested. So shuttles have these little points that did away with the need for a hook, although you can absolutely still find shuttles being made even now. Here's some modern ones without them. So just because they do or don't have a point on them doesn't necessarily mean that they're old or new. So you can't really date a shuttle by whether or not it has a point on the end. but it is a development that came along and stayed pretty much until now. You can still buy them with just a point on the end. This is one of my favorite styles of tatting shuttle. It's small, it's light. I find it very easy to use. One of the drawbacks, though, is that you need a different shuttle for every project, which is fine if you're the type of person who just has a nice pattern and will make it continuously. But I tend to be kind of fickle in what I want to use or what I want to make on any given day, and so you basically have to have a lot of these shuttles, one for each project, unless you utilize the next style of shuttle, which has a removable bobbin. In this case, you can be tatting along on one pattern and then decide that you want to switch to another pattern and pop out the bobbin. And switch to another project. So this is very convenient. You can find these. This one is made by Boye, B-O-Y-E. And you can buy packs of removable bobbins for them. So you could get like a pack of 6 bobbins in one shuttle and be able to switch them out. There are other companies that make these besides just Boye. This is one called, I think it's Aerolite. This is probably the most common type of shuttle you'll be able to find. I think Michaels carries them. I think Joann's carries them. Amazon has them. I believe Lassie's sells them too. I can't remember. But they're very light. They have a little hook on the end. This is a little fatter of a hook. This is a little slimmer of a hook. And these are very common and very popular. They also have a removable bobbin, and you can buy packs of removable bobbins for them. An interesting feature built into these types of bobbins to wind them is that this little knob on the end here as well fits into the bobbin. You can hold it as you wind your bobbin. So they are very easy to wind that way. And the same goes with these. They fit on the end and you can just wind them up. So that's kind of a cool little feature. Similar to this is this one, also made by Aerolite. It's kind of cool in a gadget sense. It has a magnetic post that holds it together. So the whole thing just comes apart and then you can take the bobbin off. And I guess this is supposed to help you hold on to it if you're going to wind it. I don't know. And then switch out your bobbins. Put them on there and then the little magnet just kind of sucks it together. I like gadgets. I also really like magnets. And so this one makes me smile just because it's a very different it's just a kind of a new take on the shuttles. And tatting shuttles are so simple that it's kind of hard to reinvent them. It's hard to come up with a new idea. But anyway, so I think that's kind of a new idea. It's kind of, yeah, kind of gadgety and kind of cool. So you have a removable spool, you have a hook, or a magnet in that case, and you can see they've come a long way. Still the same basic shape, still the same idea, but there are subtle differences from the kind of first incarnations of them to the most recent ones. Now, of course, there are other styles of tatting. If you want to do Celtic tatting has a lot of work with chains, and you end up trying to take your chain and go through other kind of loops of chains. And so you don't want a giant fat bobbin like this, because that would mean your work would have to be at least this wide. So they make very narrow shuttles. These also kind of harken back to a very antique style of shuttle where it's just very long and thin, nothing too complicated, but it is another style for Celtic tatting. If you want to do Celtic tatting, you probably want a very long and narrow tatting shuttle. Also, if you want to do larger laces, so this piece of lace was made with a full thread of rayon embroidery thread. And I just took it and wound it on a shuttle. If you're going to be using large threads like yarns or undivided rayon embroidery floss, something like that, you may want a big shuttle. These are kind of novelty shuttles. I found this one at a thrift store in a bag of random tatting stuff that you used to be able to find more commonly than you do now. I don't have a good source for these. I do get asked quite a bit, because it's my demonstration shuttle, where to find nice big shuttles like this, and I honestly don't know. You can keep your eyes open on Etsy. You can keep your eyes open on eBay. Like I said, look around in local thrift shops and secondhand shops, but I haven't found a good, actual dependable retail source for them. So my guess is they're not being made anymore, but if I do find them, I will make a video about it and get really excited and tell everybody where to find them. So if you want to make big, chunky, heavy lace like this, you may want a larger shuttle, because you're not going to be able to get very much thick thread onto a little shuttle like this, and you'll be changing your threads a lot. So that's about what I have for today. Lots of different styles of shuttles. We got to see a very old antique, almost pre-tatting shuttle where the ends don't touch. These are very fragile, and I don't know, I suppose you could tat with them, but if they're a very thin blade of mother of pearl, this is kind of more of a museum piece or a personal collection piece rather than an actual daily driver type shuttle. We have Celtic shuttles, which are very long and slender and don't have, hooks and removable bobbins and all that kind of things. Just very streamlined. We have the classic style, where it's just two ends. Again, no hooks or removable bobbins. You would need a separate hook to go along with them if you're going to join picots, which is a fairly common thing in tatting, I suppose. Then you have shuttles with tools built in. So this has a very, very sharp and strong tip on it for connecting picots. This one has a hook and a removable bobbin, so you can get yourself a cup of bobbins to go along with it. And then this one is for doing large, heavy lace or demonstrations like I do. One thing I wanted to mention throughout this video is where to find them. Finding shuttles is not hard. Finding a very specific shuttle that you want can be hard. So it depends on what you have in mind. These plastic ones, the aerolites, like I said, can be found almost anywhere. They're probably the most common shuttles to find in crafting stores and things like that. Boy shuttles are also very common. If you go to one of my favorite stores in the whole world, which is Lacy's, they have an actual storefront in Berkeley, California, which is an amazing place to go to because they have a lace museum and they have books and they have it's an absolute dream store. They also have an online store. Their website isn't necessarily the most modern looking thing in the world, but they do sell, I guess not the Tatsys, but they do sell a lot of these shuttles. And if you want a large selection of shuttles that will just show up, that's a great place to get them. They also sell bobbins for bobbin lace, and they sell lots and lots of different tools. So lacis.com, LACIS.com is an amazing store. Of course, you can also look on Amazon. If you would like help finding things, I will put links in the description. I'll go a little heavier on my links in the description in this video than I do in most of them. I'll have Amazon links. I'll have a link to these specific shuttles from Lacy's. I'll have links to Michael's online and Joann's online. I don't know. Joann, I think, only has maybe one type of shuttle. Hobby Lobby, I don't know if they carry shuttles. Anyway, I'll kind of look around. So as of the beginning of 2024, these links should be good. I'm also wondering if I should start an Amazon storefront for things like books and threads and shuttles and all of those kinds of things that I would recommend just as a place online to have everything in one spot. Let me know if that would be of interest to you. Also, I do have an Etsy store that I sell my patterns in a PDF form, and I'm thinking about maybe putting shuttles, like when I find shuttles like these are not impossible to find. They're fairly common, at least in my area. And I can put like interesting older shuttles that I find on my Etsy shop, more modern ones as well. If that's of interest, I don't know if the trouble of doing that is worth it. So anyway, let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. As of now, I don't have them on there, but I might add that to my Etsy shop. Also an Amazon storefront. Let me know if you're interested in having an Amazon storefront available, and you can look through the links. And yeah, and good luck on your tatting journey. That is kind of an overview of tatting shuttles, and I hope that was helpful maybe, or possibly informative, or at least just interesting to see the different types of shuttles and kind of compare how to wind them and what tools are built in or not built in, and see the kind of basics of what is out there for this beautiful little lace form. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!